There's not enough money in the world that could make me sleep in this room. What up? VSD here coming at you live. And I just saw the movie Hokum, aka Poppycock. And it's one of the craziest well-done horror mysteries I've seen in a good while. It's like on the level of the remake of The Woman in Black starring Daniel Radcliffe in its level of execution. And here's what I mean. The movie Hokum is not a reboot or remake of any kind. It's an original story written and directed by Damien McCarthy, which gets its inspiration from Irish folklore. Since this is an original story, we have to go off the artistic direction of the author and his originality. The movie was shot and blocked superbly. I mentioned The Woman in Black remake before because of how well everything was paced and cut together. The shots were held for a long period of time in moments of distress that add tension. This movie did this a lot, and it created good reactions from the audience. Literally, like, this guy's girlfriend next to me would not stop jumping. Great times. This was one of the most perfectly casted movies I've seen in a while. The lead actor is Adam Scott, who played as Ben Wyatt from the TV show Parks and Recreation. He played a writer named Ohm who's not very sociable, and you have this love and hate relationship with the character that morphs into wanting him to survive. His experience became the audience's experience, and that's what you want for a great horror film. Now for the action story. This is spoiler alert, but I'll keep it to a minimum. We are taken to the home of a famous writer named Ohm in the USA who is finishing the third installment of his book, and in the corner of his eye, he is being haunted by a ghostly figure. Ohm, upon reminiscing of his mother, decides to take his mother and father's ashes to place at a tree in Ireland where the picture of his mom was taken, and stay at a local hotel in order to finish his book. As Ohm checks in, he meets a few workers who know about him. Ohm manages to interrupt the owner, who is an elderly man in a wheelchair, from scaring a bunch of kids with his ghost stories. Poppycock. As Ohm checks in, he learns that the honeymoon suite is inaccessible and the only way up is a private elevator that is on lockdown because the owner locked the witch in the honeymoon suite and forbade anyone from going there. Poppycock. Listen. Death, don't you even start. Ohm ends up meeting the busboy and a clerk named Fiona who helps him to his room. However, upon leaving behind his mom's photo at the bar, Fiona and the busboy go to his room to check on him, and they open the door to find that Ohm had hanged himself. That's one hell of a twist. Yo, shit. Ohm wakes up in the hospital and weeks later and leaves after learning that Fiona was the one who saved him. However, things take a turn for the worse when he learns that Fiona had been missing for weeks. And the last person to see him was the weird old man the police was looking for in a case involving his murdered wife. Yo, this is movie. Yo. As the hotel begins to close for the season, Ohm finds the old man he met previously when he first arrived that the police are after, and the old man believes that Fiona is still somewhere in the hotel due to a vision he had when he snuck in to steal some supplies. But God's supposed to do dreams and visions, okay. When the hotel worker leaves, Ohm and the old man sneak into the hotel to try and find Fiona, who the old man believes is in the honeymoon suite that everyone is so secretive about. The old man ventures off on his own to get a crossbow, which Ohm can't understand why, and he is knocked from behind by one of the workers who is still trying to close down the hotel. Since the old man is wanted by the police, the worker ties him up and takes him in his van, unconscious, while Ohm manages to get the keys and sneak up to the honeymoon suite. Not much is happening as Ohm drinks his whiskey and passes out drunk on the bed. He wakes up hours later from one of the other workers, who was the male clerk named Mal, who tells him that this area is off limits and that he needs to leave. I'm with you, buddy. Let's get the out and let's go back to America. Ohm notices the basement dumbwaiter, and against Mal's wishes, he pushes the button and the dumbwaiter rises up from below with Fiona's corpse. Mal locks Ohm in the honeymoon suite with no way out, which Ohm has to endure for the entire season. Yo, listen, at this point, we lighten this fire. Now, things get crazy when Ohm discovers a tape recorder by Fiona, who was drugged during a party and left in the elevator shaft by Mal. We learn from Fiona's recording that the father to her unborn child is Mal, who was cheating on his wife, whose father owns the hotel. Ohm starts to unravel many clues and tries to venture down the basement on some MacGyver shit to find a way out when Fiona's recording hints that there was someone down there with her. My nigga. The witch was in the basement and was now coming after Ohm to take his ass to the underworld like in the old man's story. I thought at first this shit was like fake and that it was just a mystery, but oh no, it changed genres very quickly. Ohm rigged it so that the basement dumbwaiter would go up at a certain time. Ohm manages to go back to the honeymoon suite and notices down the shaft that the witch is crawling up. At this point, my Negro senses was saying, jump out the small ass window. I would have been ready to square up, cause listen, this ain't a game anymore. There is a cackling bitch crawling up the elevator shaft, my nigga. Ohm remembers the lore the old man told him about the witch and creates a circle of salt around the bed to prevent the witch from crossing, who then stalks around the bedroom the entire night. Ohm wakes up and realizes that someone is in the hotel to try and get their attention, but I'm like, ain't nothing in this world would make me go to sleep with a witch stalking around my bedroom chamber, G? Mal is there to try and tie up loose ends, and the old man arrives to try and find Ohm, who jumped out of the moving van the previous night. The two bump heads, and the old man is told by Mal that Ohm left for America already, and then the old man begins to leave. But the old man returns because something wasn't like hitting right concerning Mal's story and why he was there. And Ohm manages to ring the honeymoon suite bell, like from the old man's story, in his like little vision dream sequence or whatever the and the old man is taken up by Mal to see Ohm before Mal shoots the old man with a crossbow. As Mal was in a hurry to leave, Ohm grabbed the keys from the old man's pocket. At the lobby, Mal was forced to rush back upstairs for the keys during an inferno he caused to kill Ohm. Mal follows the trail of Ohm to the basement, where Ohm manages to use a circle of salt to protect himself from the witch. When Mal ventures down into the basement, he is captured by the witch and taken to the underworld. Ohm sees the ghostly apparition of his mother, who haunted him throughout the film and was able to make peace with his past. As his mom gave Ohm a metal file to escape the chains of the witch because she got them cuffs on. There ain't no freaky shit, this is some demon shit. Ohm manages to make it to the honeymoon suite, and with the help of the other worker who drove back, they escape the blazing inferno. While at the hospital bed, Ohm is met with the busboy who admitted to drugging Ohm's whiskey with a mushroom cocktail he got from the late old man that causes hallucinations, which he did because of how rude Ohm was to him earlier when he first arrived, so it was like get back. But as the old man said, the cocktail helps you see what your mind does not believe it wants to see or some type of shit. After a hearty conversation, Ohm agrees to read the busboy's manuscript, and Ohm changes the ending of his third book from being a tragedy to being a redemption arc. The emotional story focuses on Ohm's viewpoint of the world around him since he was a child. It was revealed that he was playing with his father's rifle as a kid, where his father ordered him many times not to do so, and when the mom came to get Ohm, the rifle went off by itself, killing his mother. The guilt of that day affected Ohm, which led to his father's alcoholism before his passing away, which increased his guilt. As an older man, he is a famous author, but upon finishing his book trilogy he wrote as a tragedy, he aimed to end the tragedy of his life by going to Ireland, placing his father and mother's ashes by the tree in the photo where he last remembered them being happy, and then upon finishing his book, taking his own life. Perhaps he wanted to do this at the honeymoon suite, but it was off limits due to the witch. This whole supernatural experience, be it a hallucination or a mix of reality, brought closure to Ohm upon seeing his mom again, where he was finally able to say, "I'm sorry," which he could never do, and this was the source of his hostile behavior towards other people. Seeing Fiona dead, who had tried to save his life, created a burning desire to find out what really happened to her, which takes different stages throughout the entire movie. So this movie was about creating closure in one's life with people whom you might have done wrong, because sometimes you may never get the chance to say, "I'm sorry." This is good because when Fiona went missing, everyone had to deal with closure in their own way, be it the old man and his deceased wife through a mercy killing, or Mal, who wanted to close his chapter with Fiona because of his reputation and family of his own, where in the end, the witch gave Mal the justice he deserves, on some drag me to hell kind of shit. I love this movie so much, and it was so refreshing that I had to give it 5 stars. Fundamentally, the original tale the author came up with by using Irish folklore as his source material made sense for the narrative he wanted to tell. Technically, I love the location, art, the cuts, and pacing the film delivered because it was slow and uneasy, which is my favorite way of telling a good scary story. The casting choices were superb, so it gets a star for acting. The action story was well crafted and gets a star because at first I hated Ohm for his treatment of others, and as the story progresses, I learned why. The idea of a witch trapped in a basement and only a circle saw can protect you from her is a nice touch. But now that the hotel is burned down, what of the witch? Is she now free to roam the woods and remain at the hotel grounds? The emotional story was great and gets a star because this is where we find healing, which can be applied to everyone's life outside the film if we pay attention. Being young and dumb isn't an excuse, so if you decide to do an act, be prepared to bear the consequences of your actions because sometimes it's too late to say I'm sorry. But for Ohm, he was at the right place at the right time. Just like these prices at the VSD merch store, which reminds me of this next movie right here of pure cinematic intrigue.